Good morning. Hi, Anna. Nice to see you. Welcome to this introduction to Focus Farmers as part of the Wellness in Wellies weekend. So I'm going to start today with a bit of a challenge for you, and that is to actively listen to this presentation. And I first came across active listening on my Nuffield travels at an emotional intelligence workshop. But as the facilitators were explaining what active listening was, I couldn't tell you what they were saying, because what I was hearing was, wonder what all this mindfulness is about then. Is it for hippies and weirdos? Well, everybody looks normal here. And then the facilitator said something that did capture my attention. Often when somebody else is speaking to us, we're not solely focused on what they're saying. We're also listening to the chit chat that goes on in our heads, the mind chatter, self-talk. And for some of us, that is all the time. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a go. So active listening is that you are focused on exactly what the person says. And when these thoughts come into our mind, which is wholly natural, we don't actually engage in them and get carried away in our own chit chat. We just notice, let the thought go and refocus. So actively listening. I'm here to just talk shortly today, as I say, a bit of a brief intro into what Focused Farmers does. And it's a mindfulness-based leadership development program that I've been running since having some funding from Frank Parkinson Trust back in 2017, following my Nuffield travels, which was looking at practical things we can do to develop ourselves and our teams. So over the past few years, this is some of the results that the Focus Farmers practices have achieved. And on average, people who take part in the program and start to use these tools find that self-discipline increases by 25%, purposeful focus increases by 20%, a positive state of mind increases by 24%, flow increases by 10%, and importantly, stress decreases by 20%. Some people are not familiar with this term flow, but flow is a state we're in when we're doing just what we need to do, when we need to do it to get the job done. No cares or worries. We're completely engrossed in the task at hand. It's kind of that when you're in the zone, I would say. So stress decreases by 20%, but Focus Farmers is around tools, not particularly for stress management, but more about focus and mental training. But off the back of that, stress does decrease. And I think it's important for us to understand exactly what stress is. And we are wired to be stressed. Why? Because as we evolved, we were hunter-gatherers, and when we left camp in the morning, we had one main aim for the day, and that was to make it back to camp alive. So we needed to be ready for if a man-eating tiger was to jump out of the bushes and pounce on us. And the way that we would do that is we have an area of the brain called the central executive, which will kick into gear if we're startled or if we feel that we're being threatened. So we are wired to be distracted as well. We're wired to have this mind wandering, to not really focus on what's going on around us. And often we are somewhere in the past thinking about something that has happened, or somewhere in the future wondering about what might happen, and rarely are we fully engaged in the moment now. If we were to be pounced on by a man-eating tiger, then our fight, flight or freeze response would kick in. And what does this mean? For the body, it means that our heart rate would increase and increase our blood pressure so that our blood flows around to our limbs so we can either fight or run away. To allow the blood to flow quick around our body, we get this fatty residue in our arteries, so it increases cholesterol. If we're going to fight a man-eating tiger or a woman-eating tiger or run away, our body doesn't need to put energy into our digestive system or our immune system. So these decrease in their activity. And cortisol is a chemical that's really important for a lot of functions of the body, but increased levels of cortisol, especially for a long time, are really damaging to our bodies. It's very aging. But in this instance of fighting or running away, then those cortisol levels increase. Also, continual stress response lowers libido. We all know what happens in the bedroom when we're quite stressed. Decreases sperm count. For women, they get increased menstrual cramps, and it weakens bone density. So that's in the body. What happens when we're stressed in the brain? Here we can see these are neural networks here, which is all the wiring going on, carrying messages in our brain. And when we get stressed, it actually decreases this neural network because we don't need to think strategically if we're going to fight this tiger or run away. So stress is really bad news for both body and mind. But the good news is that stress begins in your mind. You are responsible for your own stress. This model here of a cognitive behavioral therapy model shows that we have a thought, and we have 70,000 thoughts every day, some of which we'll be aware of and some are not. They're in the subconscious mind. So we have a thought, and that affects our emotions. Our emotions affect the physiology, the chemicals of what is going on in our body, and that in turn then affects our behavior. When we're thinking positive thoughts, and then it obviously produces positive emotions, which produces these positive chemicals in our body. And so we are happy-go-lucky, smiling, and our behavior obviously affects how we interact with other people. And if that's positive, we often get positive back. However, on the other hand, if our thoughts are negative and thinking about things that have happened in the past, which didn't make us feel good, or things that could happen in the future, which are not favorable to us, then that is going to affect our emotions in a negative way. It's going to affect the chemistry in our body to bring on things like cortisol levels. And in turn, it's going to affect our behavior. And being grumpy and miserable and moody and down doesn't tend to get a favorable response from others. So in this model, we can see how, with a little bit of work, we can actually be at our best more of the time. So Focus Farmers, as I say, is a mindfulness-based leadership program. And what exactly is mindfulness? Well, the University of Massachusetts Medical School defines it as consciously paying non-judgmental attention in a very deliberate manner to the present moment. What does that actually mean? So consciously, with self-awareness, paying attention in a deliberate manner. So with our senses, we have 5 senses that interact with the world: what we see, hear, feel, taste, and smell. And we're paying attention to the now, in the now. So not somewhere in the past of something that's happened or somewhere in the future, but now. And in a non-judgmental way, which is almost impossible because we are wired to judge everything. And the scientific way to increase mindfulness is through brain training, through mental exercise. There's a few different various types of this exercise, but one that is very common and effective is that you choose something to focus on, pay your full attention to, like your breath. So you notice and pay attention to your breath. The mind will wander, you will become distracted, but the exercise is to notice, let that thought pass through your mind, and refocus on your breath. You'll become distracted, notice, gain your attention again, and follow your breath. And it's a little bit like going to the gym. If I lift weights, then this action of resistance is going to increase my muscle strength. And in the same way, the action of noticing you're being distracted, regaining focus, and following the breath is going to build the muscles in your brain. And this simple form of brain training isn't particularly new. It's been around for thousands of years, and we would know it also as meditation. So, benefits of meditation. As I say, it actually builds the muscles in your brain. We can see here on the baseline model, this is a brain, the frontal lobes here is this area. So, and the red bits are known as what we know as your grey matter in the prefrontal cortex. So important for memory, concentration, a lot of cognitive thought. And then we can see on the meditation side, that red area has actually increased. And this is after just 8 weeks of regular mental training or regular meditation. So it builds these areas of the brain. So the benefits of regular meditation are that it reduces our stress because it's giving us the ability to manage our thoughts. Remember that thoughts have a knock-on effect to emotions, to physiology, to behavior. If you can choose your thoughts and manage your thoughts more effectively, then you're gonna manage the stress response that is going on in you. It strengthens our memory, improves concentration, increases our productivity because we become more focused in our lives. We can let go of the everyday distractions, all the things that are pulling us from one moment to the next. It develops our emotional intelligence, so our self-awareness, our self-management, and also our social awareness and our social management. It reverses aging. It's been biologically shown to repair our telomeres, which are sort of little biological clocks, which are disintegrated by increased cortisol. One of the biggest reports we have through the Focus Farmers program, which actually promotes better quality sleep and improved sleep. And sleep is obviously so important for our mental health. And actually at the moment, there's lots of studies coming out showing how lack of sleep is quite highly connected to dementia in later life. So really important for us to be performing at our best. And it enables creativity and an innovation. And this is linked to that, the stress response in the mind. So when our neural networks are shrinking because we've got this kind of constant level of stress going on, we can't think clearly, we can't think strategically. So we get brain fog, we don't have clarity of mind, we find it difficult to make decisions. Whereas if we can stay in a state where our neural networks are flowing as freely as possible, then we become much better at decision making, much better at finding solutions to everyday problems and those bigger things that challenge us in life. So all of these benefits and also boosts these periods of flow when we're doing just what we need to do when we need to do it to get the job done, no cares or worries. And ultimately, I think it enhances leadership. And whether you lead a team or your family, everybody is a leader of their own lives. The thing that, as well as mindfulness and developing mindfulness through mental training, meditation practice, Focus Farmers also looks at goal setting. And these things are quite important, I think, to be achieving what you want to achieve in life. You've got to know what that is. And we need to have our mind pointed in the right direction. Ultimately, we need to know our why. And I would suggest that if people don't know why they're doing something that they're doing at any moment, then they probably shouldn't be doing it or don't have to be doing it. So a really brief taster of what mental training can achieve. And please feel free to get in touch with me anytime if you've got any questions. The Focus Farmers website, there's a free 12-part mini series which you can sign up to, which co-founder Willie Horton leads there to explain a little bit more in depth about why mental training achieves results and how you can get involved. Thank you ever so much for taking part and joining us for the Wellness in Wellies weekend. I wish you a great day.